So it's not even about building confidence anymore. It's about being the best, being rich. But that's what they've been being, the solutions to their problems is being rich and getting stuff. So that's the model that's being projected on them and downloaded onto them every single day.
Hi, everyone, and welcome in this new season, 2026. Yes, here we are, of the Care Principles podcast. Before we start with my lovely guest of this year, can I ask you, could you please follow the Care Principles podcast? It doesn't matter on which channel that you are watching this or that you are listening to this podcast, but I would love to grow my audience. So thank you to follow or thank you to share it. Having said that, welcome, Anja.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Isabel.
It's been a pleasure. Anja, you are the CCO of the ANTWERP Zoo Foundation. Am I saying this right?
That's good.
So that's Chief Commercial Officer.
Yes.
Okay. How are you feeling today?
Well, I'm feeling excited.
Okay.
I'm feeling excited to be here.
Okay.
Because I have experienced actually this year how much I like podcasts, the format of podcasts.
You've been a guest in many podcasts, no?
And it's like the conversation versus the presentation, the intimacy of really having the dialogue. I really love it. So I'm really excited and I'm grateful for you to having me. And I'm also very tired, like so many around me. And I feel that our calendar looks like spring, but it's almost winter. And we keep going and we're so disconnected from the seasons. So my body wants to slow down and somehow I can't find that pace yet. So I keep going and traffic doesn't help. So I'm looking very much forward to having some downtime around Christmas and New Year's to really, embrace winter feeling a little bit and let my body, hibernate just a little bit.
So for those who are watching this is the first episode of January 2026, but it has been recorded at the end of December, almost Christmas. And I kind of recognize it that everybody is very tired. And I think that's a phenomenon that we have every year by December, that we feel like, But somehow from my perspective, I had the idea that each year it gets worse. Do you have the same sentiment?
I have the same sentiment, yeah. And I think somehow that technology definitely plays a part because it allows us to actually be disconnected from nature and disregard the fact that actually it is darker sooner and the days are shorter. And there's good parts to that. But yes, the agendas, the pressure of people getting more and more intense, the sort of like frenzy of trying to squeeze everything into a certain time frame. That frenzy seems to intensify. And I think it's just a symptom of our world at this time, the general overload of media, of impulses that we get, the fear that is being cranked up constantly, So I think that the disconnection from actually what our body feels and needs to having a calendar that dictates us actually makes us feel more and more tired and exhausted. So that's my take on that.
Now, very recognizable. One of the things I'm going to work on in January, and I'm going to share that knowledge with my fans and my followers, is January is always about good intentions. It's about, what I'm going to try to do different this year. So I'm going to work on work-life balance. I'm going to work on stress management because I also need it. I mean, I'm preaching what I probably need the most as well. But I listen to a lot of podcasts with you because you're a regular guest in great podcasts, by the way. And I would like to learn from you what do you do to keep balanced, and what is your self-care routine?
It varies. You know, it's not something that is set in stone. And the one step for me has been to embrace that I'm a woman, that we fluctuate, that we are not a stable line, and that different times require different care. That's already been a huge step for me to embrace my imperfections and embrace, you know, and let go of the rigidity of it. Having said that, it's a threefold thing. We're body, mind, spirit. So I try to address the three whenever I can. First of all, there's the material, the physical, the body, which has to do with what everybody knows by now, which is the food, the sleep, and movement. And I prefer to do my movement as much as possible in the forest, as you all know, because I'm a big believer of nature as medicine and the whole idea of forest bathing and biophilia. So that's one part. And then the mental part is very important as well, because we are creatures who have mental diarrhea most of the time. And we try to control our mind, but it's impossible. And it's more about just not giving it any power and just really trying to nourish our mind with things that are inspirational. So I'd really try and watch what comes into my mind, what I read, what I watch, and I meditate daily. So to really, from a mental point of view, feed my mind in that perspective rather than trying to control my thoughts.
Limit very hardly what you allow to come into your brain.
Very much so.
So you don't, for instance, read, I guess, then newspapers and
No.
I'm the same.
Yeah. So what I have done, I have discovered through a friend of mine, Ground News, who actually sources from 33,000 or something sources around the planet. So I do get the headlines. I mean, you don't want to become an alien. But I do watch the toxicity of social media. I have been on social media diet for the last 9 months, so that I really restrict my time that I spend on social media, because I think the impact that it has on me. There is no phone that comes in my bedroom. And when it happens, for instance, when I have on-call duty for my job, which is every 6 weeks, 7 weeks or something, I feel the weakness in myself of starting to scroll on that thing when it's beside me.
So it's addictive, right?
So it is addictive. So what do we expect our children to do when I am confronted with my own weakness when that thing is in my neighborhood? So I'm very, also the movies that I watch. I love good movies and series. I really do. But the violence, the energy that it emits, I've gotten very sensitive to it. So yes, I'm really watching that like a hawk. What I read in terms of novels, in terms of nonfiction, you know, what is the philosophy? What is the perspective? So yes, so I've become really rather rigid actually in that perspective of really being conscious about what I take in from a mental point of view.
I'm selective. I wouldn't call it rigid. I think because rigid, for me, the word feels like it's flexible.
Oh yeah.
Well. So for me, it's more about a selection of what is good for you. To take better care of yourself, you need to be selected. It's like what we were saying, if you're eating, if you're going to have fries every day, you know, your body can't remain healthy, right? So you're selective to do good for you. Is that a right interpretation?
Correct, yeah. So it's really part of my self-care. And I think the mental part is so important nowadays. When we see how many people, I mean, there's 100 and over worldwide that die of loneliness, but also the diabetes, the obesity. I mean, it's the suicidal rates in Belgium amongst teenagers, among youngsters. Mental welfare is so important. And so, yes, I think it is directly related to what we read, what we watch. And so I watch that like a hawk now. And then the third part, which is very often not discussed as much, is the soulful part, because we are spirit. And so I'm a firm believer that there is more than what we can see and touch. So I pray and I'm very conscious in connecting with what I call the sacred or the divine, however you want to call it, and whatever.
So you're praying not in a religious way?
No.
But more in in connection to something that is there,
Yes.
without giving it a name like a God.
Yeah, I think God, because there's no charge when we want it. But I know for a lot of people, God has a specific charge. The Catholic Church in Belgium has gotten a specific charge. I've been very luckily for me that even though I don't go to church anymore, or hardly ever, I've always connected with the more mystical part instead of the dogmatic part of the church. And I find that we are in a spiritual crisis. There's a crisis of meaning, but it has to do with the loss of the meaning and the relevance of the church. The people, or most people, are unfortunate that they cannot discern, in leaving the church, they cannot discern the spirituality from the dogma. So they see a church and a religion, and spirituality is your connection with God, with the divine, with something that goes beyond, that makes us all one and connected, and is very much disconnected from the religious dogma that is actually man-made. So for me, they're very different. And I've always been, as I was 6, 7 years old, very much connected to that mystical part, to that spiritual part beyond the church or whatever they preached. So that for me is that's my home base. That's the state of mind or the state of soul that keeps me balanced, that keeps me happy.
And practically, how you do that? Through praying, or is there other ways that you are feeding your soul?
I guess it's all connected a little bit, of how I feed my soul, because when I go on my first walk, I'm very much connected to nature. So for nature is for me so soulful, is for me also the sacred or the divine. And I can pray, but prayer can just be thanking God in the morning, I really, really try to get out of my bed and smile and be grateful. Be grateful that we are here living this incredible experience of life amongst the 2% richest people on the planet. And really let that sink in and try to carry that feeling of gratitude as long as possible throughout the day. It's rather challenging when you get on into the traffic jam, going to Antwerp, but I try to hold it as long as possible. So yeah, it can be small things or just a small thought. It doesn't have to be, the rigid form of prayer or a specific form of prayer that we have, that we've learned. Get it on your knees or, It can be that. But for me, it is a sort of like consciousness that is woven throughout the day, where I just connect with something that is not just out there, but is very much alive inside us, like you. Yeah.
I totally get it. But you were saying we are amongst the 2% of richest people on this planet. We live still in a safe place most of the time. We don't have war. We have crises where I think we're in a perma crisis. There's one crisis after the other and simultaneously. But in average, in Belgium and in Europe at a larger scale, we have quite a happy life. Still, like you were saying, loneliness numbers, depression numbers, burnout numbers, sleep medication numbers, they are all sky high. What is wrong with people? Why don't we see what we have? I think it has to do with two things that are very much related for me, not for everyone, but for me. And it is the disconnection from nature. We suffer from nature deficit disorder. It's been going on for decades. It's a term that was coined by Richard Louv, I think 30 or 40 years ago. And we're in a spiritual crisis. So we're so materialistic. We have a lot materialistically, but how many of us actually connect to the soul within us and connect with each other from that place? We have everything and we can watch for hours, watch Netflix and get material things so easily these days. But what truly makes us happy, which is proven, is actually community, is actually a sense of belonging, is actually a sense that we matter, that our lives matter. Where do we get these messages? Not on social media, which is all to fix something by buying something and getting something out there. We don't get a lot of messages that invite us or, to go within.
and to find the answers within, because it's very hard and it's not stimulated. So we get fixes out there. We seek for the next big thing. How many successful people who have hundreds of millions of euros walk around miserable? They do not have a smile on their face. You know, you say, yeah, that the misery, people have so much. But even successful people in Europe or the States, look at their faces. How many of them walk around with a miserable face? They're stressed. They're so pressured. They don't have a smile or that sense of aliveness inside of them. And I think that has to do with those two things.
I fully agree. But somehow the miserable, rich people have become the dream to access. The dream that if I buy something, if I work hard, have a lot of stress, finally get money, and then I can buy happiness. That is the model that was built economically to project and promote success and happiness. But it's not correlated. It doesn't work that way. Still, we keep on looking at successful people when they have economical success, and we think that is happiness. But it's wrong, right?
Absolutely.
We were talking just before we started to record. We are both big fans of Stephen Bartlett's Diary of a CEO podcast. And I can't remember in which of his podcasts he was mentioning one of his friends had 17 people, Ferraris in his garage. And Stephen said, and it's the most depressed, lonely, rich person that I know. I mean, stuff and objects doesn't create happiness.
No, but it's stimulated by social media. If you look at the kids nowadays, they're on their phones all the time. And it's very, very concerning if you talk to them. You know, now I'm not even talking Gen Z, I'm talking Gen Alpha, right? Yeah. And it is very disconcerting to hear how many of them, when you ask them, do you have any idea what, I usually don't ask what job you want to do. I just, what kind of stuff interests you, or, what are the things that you want to actually, build your life on or spend your days with? What solutions do you want to solve? Those kind of questions. And then I get answers. Even when I ask the questions that way, I just want to be rich. Mm-hmm. So it's not even about building competence anymore. It's about being the best, being rich. But that's what they've been being, the solutions to their problems is being rich and getting stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's the model that's being projected on them and downloaded onto them every single day. Mm-hmm. And it is, it's tragic.
It's concerning.
It's really, really tragic because it is a model, this more and more and more. We now know that it is, one, unsustainable, and two, that it is unsustainable economically, but also unsustainable ecologically, but also from a human point of view. I mean, this is not the way forward. This is not what creates happiness. Mm-hmm. You have so many indigenous cultures who have nothing at all. Where there's children that are playing with nothing, with smiles on their faces, who laugh together, who dance together, who sing together.
Connection.
Yeah. So what do? We push everything, also our educational systems, towards that model. No art in the curriculum, no music in the curriculum. Do that in your free time. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, it has been proven to put art and music back into the curriculum actually connects the two hemispheres and actually makes more whole, happy, and actually more productive children. Mm-hmm. Dance with your math problems. Sing about them. It sounds crazy, but it's something that Sheen Houston, who was a consultant for the VN in terms of education, preached 40 years ago. And so we've lost that sort of knowledge and insight, and we get further, of course, with the whole technological revolution, we get even further and further and further removed from nature, and there's so much wisdom in nature. And so we're locked up with our phones, with our technology that drains us inside. We don't get enough daylight, we don't get enough green, we don't get enough movement, and we get those toxic, fear-mongering messages. So I think that's the biggest culprit.
Yeah, so true. I fully agree with you, Anja. Unfortunately, we're not going to solve this here.
No, fortunately not.
And not during this hour of podcasting. But it is partly the reason why I've written the care principles, because the basic idea, the whole insight behind it is that companies or foundations can take better care of people and planet. And if we put care at the core of our business strategies, we can still grow, but no longer at the cost of people or planet, but together, growing together. So a lot of things have to change. A lot of business people don't understand at all what the care principles are all about. It's a performance model, but because it's called care and because it's not a classical performance model, they don't understand it. So I have a long road ahead of me of preaching to take care of people and the planet. And that's okay. I've accepted that I'm just at the start of a long journey. And I hope that within 40 or 50 years, somebody will say somehow, oh, there was somebody long time ago. She's dead now, but she already preached for this.
But I think the good news is you're not alone.
No, exactly.
You're not alone. There's a whole tribe of conscious people, and it's growing every day. But those are not the ones that you hear on mainstream media. No, so you often then reflect, oh my gosh, it was so few. But once you start hearing and watching out for those kind of signals, you realize there's many more of us than one thinks. People who are realizing that a model is broke, that we need to come up with a new way of being, that our humanity needs to be fostered in a different way. And Gen Z is going to force us to look at our economic model differently. I think AI is going to force us to look at our human beingness in a different way. So yes, we're in this together, and I think there's a revival at the same time going on. I think there's a lot of people waking up. Yes, and in absolute numbers, it may still seem that a lot of people have no clue what we're talking about, and that's okay.
That's okay.
But at the same time, there's more people who are getting conscious, who are realizing, hey, stop. The way we've been doing things and the way you are doing things, that's not the way to move forward. So I think there's more of us than we realize, and I'm very hopeful.
Yeah, me too. And it's totally true that what you were saying, that there's more of us. We're just not that organized. We are not like all together in a kind of a foundation or in a kind of a business club or whatever. We are scattered around the world because worldwide we see that things are growing below the surface. We don't see it. But I'm also very hopeful. But I would like to get back to your career, because you used to have a very international career at a big corporation. And then you also switched to, I guess, have a more balanced care for people and planet, and literally also planets and animals, because you work for the Zoo Foundation, which is the foundation on top of the Antwerp Zoo and Plankendown, and the Elizabeth Hall and the Congress Center. And the Elizabeth Hall and the Congress Center, exactly. How was that for you to make that switch from the big corporation internationally? You were living in America, and then you came back to Belgium, and you started to work for a foundation.
Yeah, she differs. Of course, it also was a combination of actually personal and professional. So I left the States for personal reasons, but it was a conscious choice as well. Seeing the greed, the corporate greed, especially in a multinational, Coca-Cola headquarters in Atlanta, the corporate greed, the toxicity in management was so big that at that point in time I already made the decision, this is not my world. This is not my world. This is not the club I want to belong to. It's very much a club that wants to be first and have the titles and have the career, instead of becoming best first in what you do and building competence first, and then let success follow. No. So it's whole that game where also you're not leading people, you're managing people for your own agenda, for your own career. So that for me I learned so much, probably the best things about marketing as well, I learned there. But I also learned how to not lead or manage. Right. So I learned those lessons there. So it was a conscious choice already to not do that because I had the chance. When I came back.
A big lesson.
Yeah. So when I came back, I basically, had carte blanche in finding a job because it was the States and there was headquarters Coca-Cola and then there was Capco in New York. So I had sort of like the CV where people said like, okay, vice president, wherever, I will not, name the company. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that again. And I was, at the time as well, a single mom of a 2-year-old, which forced me as a human being, as a mother, to make priorities. Mm-hmm. And I had become mother rather late in life. And so I decided for myself, I am not going to be that mom that now lets the nanny raise her child and then regret it in 20 years' time. Mm-hmm. So as a mom, it was a very easy choice. Career-wise, because I was so ambitious, it wasn't. I knew it was the right thing to do, also for my job satisfaction, but still the ego, there was that ambition. The first years that I worked there, people literally said, when are you going to get a real job?
Oh, really?
Really? They kept convincing me, to leave. Like, what are you doing there?
It's like just a hobby.
A hobby, or, just selling some tickets, or what a small thing compared to what you've been doing. And in terms of the content of what I've been doing, it was so rich. It was richer than anything I've ever done. Now, the budgets are small, but, to create a media campaign with 1 or 2 zeros behind it, well, it doesn't change much in the content of what you're doing. So for me, it's been, it's been an incredible journey and a very rewarding journey. And the fact that I've now almost worked there 20 years has to do with the fact that my job has changed a lot over the years. Mm-hmm. There has been the Congress Center and there has been the conservation part of our work that has become more and more important, the scientific part that has become more and more to the foreground. So it's a house with so many rooms that, you get to pick what room is relevant at a particular point in time. And then we have all these media platforms and we're venues. So we have a Congress Center. So it has so much opportunity. It was when I came back and it was a personal problem, I was already at the state of soul. I had a very strong spiritual basis and a strong mental basis as well. It was emotionally, of course, very hurt, and it was a very difficult period in time. But my resilience at that point was so strong that for me, I saw the opportunities instead of the problem, which I think is one of the keys of being resilient, is that you have that foundation, that you have that state of being, that when really shit hits the fan, that you can acknowledge that how you're feeling, like acknowledging I'm really tired, actually, that you can acknowledge what is, not trying to take a spiritual shortcut or just like positive think it away. Just like, yeah, it is itself. Mm-hmm. It's really bad. And not bad. And do you know what? I have the confidence to get through it. I have what it takes, to come up with great solutions, because there is opportunity here. And maybe I don't see it yet, but there will be. And that was that whole phase of actually choosing for the zoo, the ANTWERP ZOO Foundation. And it's been a very rewarding journey, even though that the adaptation was huge. Mm-hmm. In terms of culture, in terms of country. It was, changing country, leaving my friends behind, my house behind, my marriage behind, my everything. It was huge, huge. So basically the foundations of your being, of your life, had been taken, away. So yes, but I came with a lot of positive baggage as well, lots of lessons learned. And, that's the basis on which I've basically built my life for the last 20 years.
What is the biggest leadership lesson that you've learned in your corporate career?
Well, there's a few, but you want the biggest? Or can I say a few?
The one that's stuck with you.
Well, first of all, leadership is not managing people and is not a title.
Nice one.
You can have leadership in
The secretary or
thank you.
the receptionist.
It's a state of being. And it's a full-time job in the sense of it's a state of being. It's like taking the first step forward. It's about a mindset of service and purpose. And that purpose doesn't have to be changing the world. That can just be taking care of your kids the best as you can, or becoming the best possible human being that you can, or, cutting the trees in the most beautiful way that you know how to, because purpose has become this new stress point because we have to leave a legacy and, purpose. So yeah, that's what I've learned because I saw that it was all about titles and managing people and abusing people and about power abuse and toxicity, and that has nothing to do with leadership. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was the biggest lesson.
Nice.
That I guess that I learned.
Yeah, nice one. Let's go back to your career now. I'll get back to the 20 years in a second, but let's go back to the situation you're in today. You're leading a big team. Like you were saying, you have a lot of different things to manage, let's say, within your job, because you're not just doing marketing, you're also commercially responsible for the results of the Zoo Foundation. What are the leadership issues that you're facing today? What are the hurdles? Because things have changed also, I guess, over the last 20 years. Leadership demands are different from teams and employees today. What are the hurdles that are in front of you? Or
the hurdles or the challenges are definitely to do with, your basic care principle elements. They have to do, you cannot do it alone anymore. Mm-hmm. Thank God, because we're all connected. Once we realize that we're actually all connected, we will become much easier, a lot more empathetic with another person, because we are all in it together, and the solutions we will only find when we work together. But when you work together, you have to have at least a minimum level of trust. You have to show yourself as you are in an authentic way. And as a leader, you really have to create that time. It cannot all be about meetings and agenda. The human person has to be brought into the equation. And I know we complain a lot about Gen Z because my bosses were boomers. Mm-hmm. So that was authority. You do as you are told, and I don't care. Just do it. Just do it. I don't have time to explain you why. You didn't get any context. You didn't get any meaning. Just go and do it. Do it. Very army-like, which in certain ways, it has its advantages because we learned discipline. It was clear. We learned discipline, and in that system, it was also easier to become the best because you just did and you worked the system. But disregarding, of course, the human factor. How you get these Gen Zers and their forces, to look at those parts that we actually wished we had, but we didn't.
Yes, and they also force us to show parts that we have learned. Because I've also trained by boomers to hide. Yes. We were so good in hiding all human sides, especially as women, right? Because in order to climb that career ladder, we had to act like men. So I had to behave with a lot of male energy. And so hiding the human side and the emotional side sometimes is what we are trained at. And now we have Gen Z just going like, I'm not playing that game anymore. And then we complain, and actually they're our children. And why do you think they're our children? Because they got all that philosophy, all those values, and all our frustrations that we've had. Well, they're mirroring it back to us. We should be happy because they will be the change makers of the system, right? Yeah. But for us, it means, adapting now. And now that we're in authority, well, forget your authority. You can't do what you've been, what you've been nerd before, that the examples before don't work anymore. We cannot
We don't have any formulas for the future.
No.
We don't have any formulas of the past that we can actually repeat. So it's very exciting times. It's very daunting times with a great responsibility because, we're ruining our planet. We have to watch for our humanity. As I said, I can't say it enough. The organic part needs to be taken care of next to, in parallel to the whole technology. And, that whole soup of things is actually also very exciting, but is a huge hurdle of letting those, there's 3-4 generations on the workforce.
6. There's 6 generations. I work a lot in family companies, and very often the founding father is still around. He's like, yeah. And they are officially not in the structure anymore. They don't have an official role, but they still pass by and they still, do their little walk through the company. They are like 80 years old, and they actually behind the scenes they are still ruling the company. Mm-hmm. So there's, for the first time ever, 6 generations on the work floor, which has never happened before. So it's very normal that we don't have the tools, systems, structures to deal with that. So we are just all trying trial and error. And that is the A of agility partly from care, because we need to have the mental resilience and the mental flexibility to say, okay, we've tried this, it didn't work. Let's try something else. But when you do that as a leader, very often, and especially as a female leader, I work with a lot of female leaders, and I always tell them, and it feels like I'm against men, but I'm not against men at all. But as a woman, it is very different, because as a woman, where you say, I thought we had to go to the left, but it's a dead end, so let's try and go to the right. A lot of people look at you and think, she doesn't know what she wants. She has no clue what she's doing. Yeah. She's indecisive. We can't trust her. If a man is saying, we've been to the left, it's that road, let's go to the right, they go like, wow, he's analytic. He has seen it. So as a female leader, we even have to be more clear in communication why it's not always clear the path that we are going on, but that we have a vision, we know where we are going. It's just not a straight line anymore. I think if I look back at when I started doing brand strategies and helping businesses go through transitions, you did a brand strategy for 5 to 10 years, and it was pretty much a straight line to get there. Mm-hmm. Today, we have no straight lines anymore. We have a horizon, and we put some anchors, and we'll see where we are going. But there is a vision, and there is a broad horizon where we want to go. But how and when, with what tools, with what vessels, let's see along the way. So it is very different these days.
It is very different. And also what you say about women is definitely partly true, and definitely true in still a lot of the classic companies. Mm-hmm. I'm very fortunate. Having chosen for a hybrid company, so we don't have any shareholders, there's not the pressure of shareholder value every quarter, which makes it very important. Yeah, it's very important, so what we make, so the profit is reinvested in the company. So it's still my job, my role, my responsibility to make a profit, but it's reinvested. Otherwise, we cannot invest in our product experience. But that gives a different culture with different values, for starters. We are at parity in the board, of directors in terms of, not the board, the directors committee, parity with women and men.
So you have an equal gender balance?
Equal gender balance, exactly.
Which is exceptional, to be honest.
Yes.
Which is exceptional.
Yeah. And I think it's also through my years, fortunately, I have had some successes through the years that at the time were based on intuition and vision. And just as much as just the gender is often the qualities of that gender that are often the hurdle. Because women in general have a stronger intuition. Through that intuition, they tap into, an information field, an energy field of something that's ahead. I had it very strongly. I'm usually 3-4 parts ahead. I can see things coming. I mean, it's not just to make me special or better. It's just something that's typical. But it's sometimes very hard because you don't have the figures or the data to back it up.
Yeah.
And we live in a very rational, so the male qualities, and there's women who have that more than men, so I'm talking about male-female qualities, are very rational, or very data-driven, or very performance-driven, or very bottom-line-driven, or very destination-driven, which we need. Totally. Absolutely. I love that. We're just, since Francis Bacon, we live in a world where that's the only thing that's valued. To the detriment of all those softer values, which are in general the female feminine qualities, such as holistic thinking, empathy, intuition, vision, compassion, all those things that actually will be the missing link to the solutions of the future, right? And so my successes that I've had were all based on those female qualities combined with the other one. But it was often fighting for, I would say, if I would have had to prove upfront, but I had a sort of like carte blanche from my CEO at the time with Kaimu could never have happened. Because the risks that we took, both on the part of that, first-born elephant in Belgium and elephants' births are very risky. There was a 50-50 chance that it wouldn't survive. Broadcast that. In a time that this wasn't done, right? The cost of the broadcasting, we all didn't know very well. I mean, it was all very much trial and error. It was a calculated risk because the opportunity was so huge in a time and a context that was relevant. So we did it. But if I would have had to justify this upfront in a Coca-Cola way, never. Never. So sometimes there's opportunities that are so clear from a female point of view, from a female perspective, from intuiting. Hey, this is the way to go. And in a small base, it goes into changing direction. Yes, that you intuit, guys, this is not the way to go. Fortunately, I have some history there, so I have some credentials there. If I were to change direction every month, that wouldn't be a good thing. No. For sure not. But there is a very strong consciousness and realization that we have to move, that we have to speed up slowly. It's langzaam haasten. To really, watch around, that we can project into the future what we did in the past. So I have to say it is less and less of my experience, fortunately.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm very happy. I'm very happy for you.
Yeah.
And I think probably because you don't have a board of directors, probably because you have a gender balanced board of directors. I mean, you don't have a commercial board of directors and as shareholders, you have a gender balanced board of directors, because a lot of companies still don't have that. We are really struggling with that. And that won't be solved again immediately. But intuition empathy is within the framework. Intuition is within my leadership framework. So we are very aligned in. And just to be clear on the role of men, for me, it's not the gender that matters. It's the male and female energy, and we both have it. Women have male energy and men have female energy, and it's just how balanced do you have it. And I think we, as a society, or at least the Western society, we have all gone too much into the male energy, especially when you are in business. Being raised by boomers, that is what we had to do to climb the humanitjes down. Yeah, that's what we know very well.
And we know we both need to handle the toxic level of both the female side and the male side, because it's not just about showing women inside, so we have the gender balance. It's exactly what you say. It's about energies and making sure those energies are balanced, and that starts within. Again, it starts within. Sometimes you have to have rules, like gender balance, to facilitate change. But what we often, again, overlook is a journey within. It starts within. It starts with ourselves. The change starts within, said Gandhi, but it's so true. It's like, okay, where am I inside? Where do I have male qualities that are maybe toxic? Where do I have female qualities that are maybe toxic? How much do we bitch about men? How much have we in our feminism diminished men and are so striving for equality that we have actually just like hurt them as well? So there's a new...
And also, very importantly, I find for women, women are not helping women.
No.
There's a boys' club, but there's no women's club.
No.
We don't have
On the contrary, it has been proven that women in top board positions in the world, they had to give up and sacrifice so much. They had to struggle so much that they think, no way that she's going to have it easier than me. Mm-hmm. Instead of saying, yes, she will not have to fight the way I do, which should be the way for women, to celebrate our successes. Do you know that one of the most toxic behaviors that we need to overcome, and that is female competition? It's one of the biggest hurdles in a healthy gender balance and in a healthy new feminism, and that is the female competition. The idea that there's lack, because it's based on a sentiment of lack, there's not enough. If she has that success, if she has that good man, I won't. Mm-hmm. So this idea of scarcity and lack, we need to overcome and realize we're all connected. And a sister's, success is ours because what she can do, we can do, and she's paving the path. Because the more examples there are, it's an energetic field that we could step into. Now I'm getting maybe a little bit too ooey, but I really believe in the power of sisterhood and celebrating female, feminine successes, the female amongst themselves. Yeah.
It's so true, and it's very important because we've been talking about Gen Z. You have a Gen Z daughter. Mm-hmm. I have two Gen Z daughters, and we know statistically that from the Gen Z's generation, there's more girls now succeeding at universities and high schools and whatever. So there is more girls now starting to work and getting into the jobs than boys. Mm-hmm. So that sisterhood lesson and that possible feeling of being jealous of other women or other girls that you meet alongside your career, it's such an important message to tell the girls, right?
Yes.
Because it's something that we had to overcome. But we were raised in different times, and we had to do also different things to make the careers that we've made. But that is a big lesson to learn for younger girls, I think.
Mm-hmm. And again, social media doesn't help because especially for young girls, what do they start doing when they're 11, 12 years old? They start comparing themselves physically. Mm. They're tuned into all those networks and all those accounts and all those influencers with curated content that is often nothing to do with reality. Mm. But that's what they get in, and that's what they compare themselves to. So it often starts, before their adolescence, they start comparing themselves with other women instead of indeed establishing that sense of togetherness and celebration.
Yeah. 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 So it's me. Importance. I just wanted to make a little loop back to what you were saying a couple of minutes ago. It's almost 20 years that you work now for the Zoo Foundation. At the beginning, people were asking you, what are you doing there? Was this like a temporary job? Just to, get your life back in balance and back on the road. Now you're back in Belgium with as a single mom and whatever. Nobody understood. When was the moment that you felt that perception started to change? When did you feel that people started to understand, well, it is a real job, and she is having a good career, and she's doing something very purposeful and very meaningful, and she's really doing something, putting the foundation on the market and having success. Do you still remember when it kind of shifted?
I think it was maybe for the outside world, it was kind of.
I was thinking that it was that more for the outside.
Because, it's like, whoa, with such a small budget, what can they do, really, The whole country is speaking, about this campaign. It's just like crazy, And Facebook was hardly known, it was hardly launched. I mean, people cannot imagine, the context within which, what year was that again? That was 2007.
2007. So for the people who are watching this from abroad, it was a never seen before campaign when the first elephant ever in Belgium in captivity was born, and all of that was 24/7 filmed and broadcasted.
Yeah, the birth was lively broadcasted, but we had a whole communication plan before, so that we actually sort of mimicked the pregnancy of a human to sort of engage our audience with what it.
So it was, and I mean, everybody in Belgium knew that elephant, and everybody wanted to.
Yeah, that was brand awareness, which was more than 90%. I mean, it was never seen. Yeah, so it was crazy. So that was definitely for people who need that external validation, which I have to admit wasn't bad for me either to get that validation. But like many things in life, it starts with your inner composure,
So for you, it was quite from the start. That's
no, because in the beginning, it for me was also very much getting my feet back on the ground. I hadn't properly worked in Belgium for, like 2 decades, or 15 years. So for me, it was really getting, as you said, getting my feet back on the ground, seeing what else was possible and landing there. Because also financially, it was a lot less than I earned in States. So I was sort of like, feeling my way through those years. And then I got hooked. And then got hooked, and seeing the possibilities, seeing the opportunities, and overcoming the limitation of a so-called paycheck that wasn't what I earned before. Mm-hmm. And then again, being taken on that road of what really makes you happy in life. Mm-hmm. The fulfillment of a job, the topics that you're engaged with, it was about conservation, it was about nature, it was about bringing people back closer to nature, biodiversity, the animals, the green, the concerts, business meetings. So people meeting each other. It's the social component, which has always been part of the Antwerp Zoo, because it was one of the 5 oldest zoos in the world, and it was a social club at the time.
It's beautiful, by the way. For somebody who's still looking for a congress spot, it's beautifully decorated rooms. It's very good. It's very old. I had the pleasure to already be there 2 times on stage. And it's beautiful. It has a real connection with the zoo. You can go inside of the zoo in the break and have a walk there. So it's beautiful. So there's a lot of connection there.
Yeah, and it actually became also, it enhanced my personal philosophy, which was already seated and, which was present in who I was, but especially with the conference hall, which we positioned as a room with a zoo internationally. And really building the narrative of, no, it wasn't just about bringing people closer to the animals in the parks, but the idea of bringing business people together. And in that business environment, it was worldwide new. Nobody's talked about the fact of the personal ecology and having people have green breaks when they're 2-3 days on a congress, sitting in dark rooms, air-conditioned hotel rooms, eating too much, often drinking too much. Usually the person we talk about, the ecological footprint in terms of travel and waste for food. But at the time, nobody talked about the personal ecology a little bit, like care principles. And I was like, yeah, guys, but what about the humans? The humans who are flying in from thousands of miles, being dumped in a bunker, don't know where they are in the world, don't know what time of day it is, no daylight, then being put in a hotel room with air conditioning. where's the humanity in all of this? And so the Congress Center was then, in that regard, very much linked to our whole philosophy of the importance of green, the importance of biodiversity, the importance of nature in our human existence, which I extended into my personal idea of nature as medicine. But it is, because there's all these bodies of science from Harvard, from Stanford, from everywhere across the planet now, that proves that having green breaks and spending time in green is actually good for diabetes, obesity, ADHD, loneliness, because there's a difference between being alone and lonely, but also it increased production. So when you spend time in nature and then you have a meeting, it is proven that it increases your production levels 25%, your creativity levels 60%. So why are we all locked up in meeting rooms and looking at screens and having meetings 3-4 hours nonstop? So that's sort of the narrative that has been reinforced by having then the zoo and having a conference hall and having then my personal philosophy and my love for nature, which has been there as a child and has become sort of like my mini mission then of bringing that green component and the importance of green breaks and nature as medicine into sort of like the more business world, the Congress world, the meeting world.
No. Is it working?
Yes, it's definitely working because they're now all talking about it.
Okay.
So the person
How it changes? Right. Because talking about it is one. Yeah. Do they go outside?
Some more than others. So some will take advantage of the fact that only Congress people get to run in the zoo before the zoo opens.
Nice one.
I can assure you, in spring, it is such a gift because it is magic hour. When the zoo wakes up, in spring, it's magic time. So some more than others, I think like us, and some seasons more than other seasons. Some people are very much hooked on that technology. And also what I think is true, Isabel, is that as you get down that path of becoming more conscious and leading a more conscious life, you become more sensitive. And the downside is that you also become more sensitive to sitting a long time, being in the dark, all those things that you were maybe less sensitive for before. So it also depends, I think, on your level of sensitivity for health and well-being. Some people are just much more into that, and the more you are, advancing in that, it's like an athlete. The more you become sensitive of doing something that your body doesn't want or something that is not conducive to the overall thriving of your body, mind, and spirit.
Yeah. I think it's a training. Like you train your body physically by doing sports, for instance. I think it's a business training. Definitely my care principles is a business training because it starts with empathy. And if you dare to listen to yourself and if you train yourself to learn how to actively listen to the people around you, it's really something that needs to be trained. It's not something that you can just do like that. But if you show that empathy, you are trustworthy and reliable, people go like, oh, okay, I can work with them or her or him. I trust them. And when they trust you, then you can go into the agility part in the A of care, which is all about, okay, now we need to, like you were saying, I call it hurry up and wait. It's a hurry up and wait strategy. Okay, hurry up. We need to go fast. But also wait. We are still here. We still have mental resilience. Is everybody okay in the change we are going through? And then start to collaborate better, the C of care. Then have everybody together in the same bus, driving at the same speed. But it's a training. And to make, because we are already about 1 hour here, so I don't want to drag it too long. If we dive into the 20-step leadership model that I've written, the first step for empathy is introspection. And introspection is really what you were just talking about. You need to be aware, you need to be conscious of what you need, what drives you, what makes you perform well. And I still see a lot of people unconscious who haven't started yet the journey of introspection. So for me, it really starts there. But I'm just curious, which of the 20 steps, now, unfortunately, we can't go through everything anymore, which is totally fine. But which of the 20 steps you are here in front of you is the one that for you talks the most to you, or even you can also say the one that you don't feel at all? Which is the one you would, at the end of this podcast, would like to discuss?
Well, we've already talked about introspection because, my whole journey has been, the change in my life came when at 30 years old, I took 2-year personal growth track, self-mastery track, however you want to call it, which was all about introspection and learning who you are, because you cannot become the authentic self without knowing who you are, what your triggers are, what your baggage is, what the perception is through which you observe, because we observe all very differently. The narratives in our mind are the ones that are often, especially when we're unconscious, that are just driving us, and we repeat our past in the future, because we're not aware, right? So for me, yes, that's like the basis of everything. On the other hand, what I really love, where was it again when I looked at it, is that I'm very much these days, besides the journey of becoming the most authentic, competent, best self that I can be, really being more and more sensitive to the energies, because we're all energy, and it's all energy. And we carry all the energies of the universe within ourselves. And so reading energy, feeling energies, it has also had to do with the fact that I've had a past of living in my head. I have a responsibility and a job that stimulates me to be in my head. Yes, and yet I think the way forward, and also that balance of male and female, is to have that full awareness, that full presence where head and heart are connected. Because intuition comes from your gut and from your heart and from that connection. And that's what we need, that connection. And so then energy can flow, and then you're from sort of the mindset that you then have, that composure, that beingness that you have. Because what we say is only the 20-30% of what we exude. The rest is energy. It's like how we compose ourselves. It's basically our state of being. So for me, the state of being, that's been my whole life journey. That was the big lesson that I got in that 2-year track of self-mastery. I got a badge at a certain moment with the power communication workshop as part of that training. And I had the badge being. And it was horrible at the time because I was a busy bee and I was a doing person because I was a pleaser.
A human doing.
I was a human being. So how do you human be? I cried for the whole weekend. I didn't know how to do that, which is a joke. I didn't know how to do human being. So for me, it's been my journey, to just be, and being as being enough. Without the doing. And to really take that journey further inwards and embrace all the nicks and crannies and wander through the journey, yes, but the jungle of my own stories and my own complications. And a journey of self-acceptance, radical self-acceptance, radical self-love. And then really connecting to who I really am. And then this sort of energy field, that sensation that's being opened up. I've had several experiences like that. You can put in yoga, in meditation, but that connection is so fantastic. It's so beyond anything. So for me, energy is when someone walks into a room. Before they've opened their mouth, I can sense the energy. Just as we feel an energy of a room when we walk into a pub. We didn't go to certain pubs when we were young because the energy was wrong. We would call it vibe or whatever fancy word they call these days, but it's actually energy. It's the field that you kind of sense of all people that are there together. So that's one that is very important to me, and sort of like, yeah.
I understand it. I totally get it. Coherent. He's thought of the communication, of the collaboration principle, but I always tell my clients, trust is not something that you put on the wall. Yeah, we can be trusted. We were a trustworthy company and whatever. Trust starts on the parking lot when you get out of your car and they look at you and your team is they already feel the energy, the way you get out of the car. And then they already feel how you're going to be. So true. Energy is so important. And I don't know how it is for you, but for me, it's something I'm born with a lot of energy. But of course, it's not just the level of energy that is important, but to keep the natural flow, because flow is also one of the parts in the model. Flow and energy, to be in the flow, which is for me, everything goes without thinking. It's just like a natural, organic state of mind in which you just do things, and everything is important. It only works when, like you were saying, I manage to get out of my head. I let go of of my own limiting beliefs, expectations, and I think I need to do, or I have, or whatever. And I'm better and better at it. It's a journey. But I always feel when I'm not really fully in the flow, it's because I think too much.
Yep. It's really the way forward for us women, and managing that energy, is for women so much the way I've experienced it, and all the workshops and trainings that I've seen and experienced. The shortcut for women is getting their body dance. Yeah, is a playfulness, is sensuality, and is getting into our bodies, because the power of a woman, we haven't touched on that yet, is the second chakra. It's in our sensuality. It's where our creativity lies. And when we are constantly in our head, we actually suffer more than men because of the way that we are wired. We really need to connect to that creativity, to that sensuality, to that playfulness, to become really wholly, literally, ourselves. So yeah, it's out of our head and into our bodies, and dance and wheels. Yeah, man.
I have a very funny anecdote to tell now. I wasn't planning at all to tell this, but I need to tell this. I was on stage in the zoo Congress building. I think it was 2 years ago on a big conference, OM conference, I'm going to name it. And I did a keynote. And I ended the keynote telling people one of the things you can do to take care of each other and take care of the team and feel a belonging and connection in your team. You don't need to do it as a whole company, but just your team, the marketing team or the sales team or whatever, facilities, ITers, whatever, is look for a song that unites you. And that all of you go like, yeah, this is our song. And then when things get tough, or when you just want to, celebrate small successes, you put the music on and you dance. And so there was somebody I knew very well in the room, and I asked her in the morning, what is your favorite song? I will play it for you. It was a song I never heard of. And I said, so especially for that one person in the room, I'm going to put her music on and I'm going to dance on stage. So I switched on the music. I started to dance on stage to end the Congress. Everybody was looking at me like, what the is she doing? Who is this strange woman dancing on stage? And I think the one woman who was there for whom I was doing this, she was like this, and all the rest, and probably some other people felt it, but all the rest, and you know how big your rooms are, all the rest of the conference room was probably just looking at me like, what was this all about?
But it's fantastic what you seated there. It's so important for a person like you on that stage to have the courage to do that, because you planted a seed. And I'm almost certain that so many actually have thought about it, have actually implemented it. And I'm certain that next time you're on own conference stage, that there's going to be more, dancing with you.
I don't know, because just to end the anecdote, I went home. I always bike in Antwerp, so my bike was parked in front of the Congress building, and I was unlocking my bike, and there were two guys smoking a cigarette outside the building, and they were on the first row of my talk, and they were there smoking, and they were like looking at me like saying bye like that. And I was like, I was just thinking, what the hell did I just do? There are these two blokes just smoking a cigarette. They must have thought, what a waste of time or something. But I don't regret it at all, and I keep giving that tip. So it's not it's not like it wasn't a moment of self-doubt, but it was a moment of again realizing that I'm always ahead of things, and that the care principles is definitely not yet for everyone. Yeah. And that's okay, but it's just a funny anecdote because you were talking.
It's a wonderful anecdote, to show the living dead, There's too many of us who are the living dead walking around like that, half dead. And so, to be alive is to be happy. Look at that smile. You've got such a beautiful smile. Yeah. So more of us should be dancing and be playful. Yeah. And get this serious also because, we think success and being serious and is being serious, we have to be serious, then we're taken.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, we lighten up, literally.
Yeah.
In terms of energy as well, lighten up a little bit.
Yeah.
That's definitely my big challenge. And it's been a journey, but I've gotten a lot better at it.
Yeah.
Because I used to be way too serious, so.
Okay.
Wonderful anecdote. Thank you for that. Well, I'm going to
dance on your stages.
And I'm going to find a favorite song for my tea. Absolutely. Thank you for that. Thank you for that suggestion.
Yeah, and I always give a suggestion for two reasons. First, we don't celebrate enough small successes. We are all thinking ahead of what is the next targets that we need to reach, what is the next goal that we need to reach, what is the next hurdle that we are facing, and we don't look back enough at the things that we realize. Right? And it's important because the journey for everyone is tough these days because business is tough and crisis is. We know we are going through huge transitions, and so we need to be more in the moment and enjoy the moment. And when things go well, then celebrate, and not celebrate like we used to do. Let's go to a restaurant and have 10 bottles of champagne. No, small successes. And by having a music and having a song that unites you, it really helps. But then again, it can also help you when you go through a crisis and, when the shit hits the fan and the team goes like, oh, what happened now? And what do we need to do? You just go like, okay, we're going to handle the crisis in 1 minute. Let's just first play our song. And then, and you just dance and the energy goes up. And when you dance, you can't be depressed. You can't cry. Yeah, you can cry of emotion, but so it gives a lot of energy.
Absolutely. Dancing is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Dancing is medicine as well. Absolutely next to nature. They're both medicine.
I try to dance every day. I dance in my bathroom when I get grateful, Yeah.
But you have to start a day.
But yes, it's a day exercise because you move with it, which is always good. Anyway, almost done. 2 questions left. Okay. I always have a question from the previous guest. My previous guest is Alain Laurent Verbeek. I don't know if you know. He's
I do now because I listened to his podcast.
You did?
Okay. Yes, sir. Very interesting person.
Yeah, he was intelligent, but very intelligent, very much. The fact that we're all connected, he doesn't call it, but he learned that we're all cupcakes coming from the same dough, and
he's in the Tao, he's in the chain, in the Chinese perspective.
Exactly, and he's very philosophical. It was a very interesting talk. And he also left a quite philosophical question for you, but which suits you totally. And so, and you never know to whom the question will be. So I will also ask you at the end a question off screen for the next guest.
Okay.
So his question is, what does it mean to you to live here in this world alive?
Mm-hmm. What it means is that I have won the lottery, that I have a huge responsibility, and that is absolutely an exuberant experience. I really truly believe that we're not alone in the universe, and to be incarnated here on this planet at this time of such change, of such transformation, but just being on this gorgeous, beautiful planet truly is a privilege. Just being alive and full of life is already the rewarded. Really, truly. And it comes with a responsibility because I am here And I think we have the responsibility, what I mentioned before, of living our best life, which does not mean the titles and the material success. It just means what you feel, who you are, become your best self. And that's what I strive, what I strive to do. So I think that's responsibility, and also the responsibility of doing what is needed around you. You know, within arm's reach. You don't all need to be world, beaters, but within arm's reach. If you see something's needed, to just do it and try to do it with a smile. Yeah, but I'm very, I'm so grateful, and I'm so aware of the privilege of being alive, and just loving being alive. Yeah.
It's so beautiful answer. What can I wish you, Anja, for 2026?
Well, of course, we're all striving for heaven on earth, right? So for sure, heaven on earth for me and everybody else. And what that specifically more maybe could mean for me is that, more of becoming my best self.
Continuing the journey.
Yeah, that's right. Even a better self, closer to, so I can serve better.
Yeah.
Because you can serve better if you become, your better self. So,
Nice. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
It was a wonderful conversation. For those at home, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. In case you would like to dive more into the 20-step model that I was just discussing here with Anja, you can download it free of charge on my computer, on my website, careprinciples.com. So you can start to work with it. It's a methodology to transform companies from within, as I've mentioned before, and it's really a strategic framework for brands and people in transition. But you guys are watching this podcast, so you already know this. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening, and take care.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you, Isabel. Thank you for having me.
Check out thecareprinciples.com and see how we can help you. Thank you and take care.